Welcome to episode 17 of the Mayor's Mixtape. I want to say thank you to everybody. We hit 750 downloads last week. So thank you for sharing, listening.
Like a real podcast now.
We are like a real podcast now. It's exciting. My name is Haley Sue Robinson. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for the City of Pueblo.
Mayor Heather Graham.
And
joined by Lucy today.
First dog, Lucy. I thought maybe it was going to be one of our episodes without a guest, but then Lucy decided that she wanted to be on. She has lots to share today. Yes. So, yeah, that's good. Don't forget, if you have questions, you can email us a topic or question, mayor@pueblo.us. And you can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube, Channel 17, wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us. So, Mayor, kind of a long city council work session last night, so we'll get into a couple of things, but one of the first things that happened last night was the Pueblo County Commissioners came and gave a presentation, talked about regional building and potential status of what it looks like moving forward. Tonight they have a town hall, and they want to discuss the timelines associated with regional building. Can you kind of share with us what this looks like from a city perspective?
Sure. So the city, the county, and Pueblo Regional Building have a three-party IGA.
Okay. IGA is an intergovernmental agreement.
Correct. And so what the IGA really governs is how a regional follows our codes.
Okay.
Talks about timeline. So our IGA renews every year. And right now the county is thinking about exiting the IGA and developing their own building department inside of the county.
Okay.
So
bringing it in-house.
So what that would mean is there would be no IGA. So the city could potentially do the same thing and have its own building department within the city. I don't think that the city has the capacity to do that, and we don't want to see development come to a halt because we're not prepared to take on something of that size. And so, my proposal last night would be that the city council and the administration renegotiate the agreement between regional building and ourselves. So we would have a continuous IGA, and within city limits, nothing would skip a beat. So it would be maintained. Regional building would still collect the fees. At this time, the city and the county give no monetary contributions to regional building. They are solely funded by fees and permits that people pull within the community. So it's been a pretty hot topic over the last week. I think that the county commissioners, we heard Commissioner McFeeters, so this is something that they had been thinking about for a while and having discussions amongst themselves. Not all three of them seem to be on board with this issue. I know Commissioner Lucero said that there was still more conversations to be had, and he still wanted to see a plan and gather all the information before he made any kind of decision. But it sounds like at least two of the commissioners are ready to, to put the city on notice that they'll be exiting the IGA. So they have to do it before July 1st because they have to give the city 6 months notice. So they would notice the city July 1st, and the agreement would come to an end December 31st.
Okay, so then the county would move forward with their own building department starting January 1 of 26? Okay. And talk to us a little bit. I know that you expressed your own relationship, or the city's relationship, I guess, with regional building and kind of some of the changes that you've made since you became the mayor. Yeah,
so regional building is governed by a board of 7 individuals. I appoint some, county commissioners appoint some. We have 1 city councilor and 1 county commissioner that also sit on the board. So that's really regional's oversight. Concerns that I have is there won't be any third party oversight if the city would be to absorb their own regional building department or the county would. So those were some of the concerns that I have. I've yet to see a plan from the county. They have not put the city on notice. City has been requesting a plan for probably the last 4 weeks. At the end, Zach said last night that they were going to have a plan out today. Their plan was going to be posted today, and that they would discuss it more at their town hall this evening. So I'm excited to see it. If the county wants to be autonomous and have their own regional building department, I mean, that sounds like something that they have every right to do. But I do have concerns when it comes to development, that the permitting process will slow down, and not speed up.
Well, and it seems like, this is an interesting time for it, because that's been a topic of conversation pretty continuously this year, as far as, projects on the boulevard, or even like large scale development with housing.
The city has maybe a different relationship with regional building too. I know you asked about what we've done since coming into office. We meet monthly with Mark Guerrero and his inspectors, if needed, for a regulatory compliance meeting. So it's about 6 or 7 different agencies that come to the office. We talk through building permits. We talk through, right now the topic has really been on lodging and hotels and licensing. And so I think I might have a little bit of a different relationship with the building department, because we've been working very closely together on different issues that the county has not been involved in. So I'm not sure what their relationship is like, but we recently had an issue with Evraz, and it was just one phone call to Mark, and he was here to participate in the meetings and help the process move along. So of course, as a business owner or just a private citizen, I've had issues with regional. I'm sure many people within our community have, but at the end of the day, they're here to keep the community safe. And that's something that I think everybody could be respectful of.
Well, and I think one thing that maybe some folks don't understand, and you've brought that group together, is it's not just regional building. There's fire, there's sales tax, there's the health department. Obviously, those are in relation to specifically like lodging.
Inspections, yep.
But those types of inspections, if you're, in your case, opening a business like a restaurant, you have to have all of those inspections done. So if the city were to absorb this, we would stand up a brand new department, a building department. It doesn't necessarily seem like maybe the
6 months is not enough time.
To
start that process and have a flawless process. I think that it would need more time and more discussion.
Okay. That'll be interesting to see what the town hall brings this evening.
We do know that, they had some numbers last night, some percentages where they said, I think 60% of the permits are actually pulled within the city limits. So if the city was to do that, we'd have, a little bit harder time, I think, because the majority of the permits, the larger permits, the commercial reviews, most of that is done within the city of Pueblo.
So then that would all be brought in-house.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems like Lucy's a little bit stressed about it, maybe.
I think everyone is.
Yeah. Okay, so tonight's town hall will be interesting. And
5:30 to 7, the Art Center.
Okay. And as far as follow-up for next steps with the county and the city, what does that look like?
So I think today we figured out that they have 4 meetings before July 1st.
Okay.
Where they could, propose a resolution and take a vote.
The county commissioners could. Yeah.
To put the city on notice that they're going to be ending the IGA. So I guess we'll wait and see. At this point, I have not been told specifically when that date will be, or if that date was going to happen. I know all 3 of the commissioners want to hear from the community tonight, so encourage people to go if you're for regional or against regional, or just want to voice your opinions.
And I think that's one thing that was pretty well discussed both by city councilors and the county commissioners, was just the fact for public input. Seems like everybody really wants that.
Yeah, and I know the county they're up against a timeline.
Sure.
And, we talked about extending the time, but doesn't seem like that's something that we can do right now. So,
okay. So we'll see what happens.
Stay tuned.
Okay, great. All right, so another big presentation from last evening was actually your presentation regarding PEDCO and the half-cent sales tax. And that followed PEDCO's annual or semi-annual report that they come and give to council. But your presentation was specifically about the criteria ordinance and putting forth a ballot measure that you outlined a couple of key things that are different than what the current ordinance reads. And the three things that stood out was the economic catalyst, the economic leakage, and placemaking. Can you talk a little bit about each of those?
Yeah, so economic catalysts are going to be businesses or opportunities that come into the community that will be large sales tax drivers. That's where half-cent sales tax comes from. So those might not necessarily be associated with primary jobs.
Okay.
When we think about putting infrastructure in for retail or fast food restaurants, those are large sales tax drivers, but not always have an association with primary job. So that would be an example. An example of the leakage would be like a Costco. So we know we have a leakage within our community where we have tons of community members who drive to Colorado Springs to go shop at Costco. If we had a Costco here, we would, stop that leakage. So that would be one example. And then the placemaking. So placemaking, we've heard a lot of conversations about Jellystone and that potentially coming to the city. At this time, with the current criteria ordinance that we have, PEDCO or the city would never be able to incentivize a project like Jellystone because it doesn't directly relate to primary jobs. So this would give additional tools for us to be able to incentivize projects of that size with no primary job associated with it.
Got it. But when you say placemaking, we obviously associate the economic impact for that as it's driving tourism. When we have
like the Riverwalk, that could be placemaking. It's also part of the RTA, an aquatic center or a sports complex. Those would also be placemaking ideas. I wouldn't necessarily ever say that the city is just going to take the money and create a new park because that wouldn't really have economic dollars associated with it. There'd be no ROI on that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't cost anything for me to go to the park.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are I know that topic has been thrown out specifically like, oh, well, you're going to use this money to build a park. That's not necessarily true.
Sure. Okay.
If it was a great park and people from all over the U.S. were coming to visit it, then maybe, but that's not in our plans.
Or if there was like a pool or something that cost money associated with the park.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing that you outlined specifically was a percentage, that 15% of unencumbered funds. Can you explain a little bit why or how you settled on that number?
Yeah. So we've been meeting with, so PEDCO had put together a meeting every Wednesday in which we met with past board members, current board members, members of the community, told them how we wanted to change the criteria ordinance. They were not in favor of changing the criteria ordinance. But after lots of discussion, we came to these three talking points, the leakage, economic catalyst, and placemaking, and then talked about using a percentage of the unencumbered fund balance in order to drive those three different areas. So they did not want us to be able to use all of the money that's in the unencumbered, which is, as of May, $63 million. So we settled on the aggregate percentage that the city or PEDCO or any kind of economic development team would only be able to use 15% a year. So in this case, for
per year.
Yep, per year.
Okay.
For this case, right now, as of May's financials, we're able to use $9 million.
Okay. You want to leave us now, Luce? Okay. We understand. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot to digest.
She's getting stressed out.
So, so that 15% then allows for the remainder of the funds still to go towards
primary jobs.
Yeah. Okay. So it's essentially just adding to what is currently happening with PEDCO and making a new designation? Okay. So they'll still have a focus on primary jobs. One thing that PEDCO's especially good at is manufacturing. I know like one thing that Jeff Shaw talked about was the development of Pueblo-plex. So you're not asking them to change that focus or deter that focus?
There's been times where, PEDCO has... So PEDCO, they specifically had brought up Jellystone and ways that they could try to incentivize. So this just really would give them the tool. So if it wasn't the city bringing the economic prospects in, it could also be PEDCO, and these might be some different avenues that they can now take if this passes City Council next week. So
it essentially helps us not pigeonhole the criteria quite so much. Another thing that Councilor Aliff brought up was that we've used funds similarly like for the RTA project. So how did that work?
Criteria ordinance has been changed at least 3 times that I'm aware of. So for the RTA, so we used it when we did the PBR Sports Performance Center, the Convention Center, and a parking garage. The Urban Renewal Authority borrowed $14 million out of the half-cent sales tax for the contribution from the city. So that had to be written into the criteria ordinance in order for City Council to grant those funds.
Yeah.
Another example is they changed the criteria ordinance to include $800 for jobs that need training that half-cent sales tax was bringing in. Yeah, so you could, the companies would get an extra $800 per employee that they were able to bring. So that was not in the ordinance before, so that was added. And then the latest was in 2020. If everybody remembers, the city did a $5 million loan program where small businesses got grants, and you could also take out a loan. And that money came from the half-cent sales tax dollars. So that was also written into the criteria ordinance. So it's been changed, and it's been added to, and it's well within City Council's authority to change the criteria ordinance for when the times change in the community. And as we could see last night, I gave the very detailed report of the businesses that have come to Pueblo in the last 10 years. And you could see from 2015 to now, on average, they were bringing about 3 businesses. And in 2024 and 2025, we've seen 0. So I think that it's time to change. This has been a really big focus this year for me. Traveled to different communities. I know you and I have talked about it, and so we were able to put a package deal together that I think the majority of City Council feels comfortable with.
Right.
And we heard that some of the councilors are really excited moving forward, and really the change that's needed in the criteria ordinance.
Sure. Another thing that you talked about last night too was the amount of money that the city's forgiven over a number of years, and so I guess my question to you is, how do we prevent that from happening? We know that not all businesses brought to Pueblo will be successful. That's no necessarily fault of PEDCO or folks who are bringing in these developers or new businesses, but how do we ensure that we don't leave money on the table or we don't forgive this kind of debt?
Well, I think that we collateralized in some way, shape, or form the money that we give. We saw that we almost had $9 million that has been foregone. And it's not the previous administration. I mean, it was city managers from years and years ago that they kind of just, if a business flopped, they didn't try to collect on the dollars. And that's unfortunate, because it's a $9 million that we could have either acquired property from individuals. Some of these businesses have come again to half-cent sales tax asking for incentives, even though that they owe the city millions and millions of dollars. And so I think that the point of that was to make sure that the community knows that I'm holding people accountable, and we're going to be transparent. We had a business this year who owed the city some money, and we were able to collect $1.3 million in back payments that they owed the city. So I think that that's a big part of this, right? PEDCO and half-cent sales tax. it's all very secretive. You know, we want to make sure that when we're bringing businesses here that we protect. A lot of these businesses have us sign NDAs, and
Sure.
They are looking at other communities at the same time, right, trying to get the best deal. But I think when citizens pay into a fund for economic development and you see no economic development, I think it, you know, raises the questions of where is our money? How has it been spent? Is there a better way we could be spending it? Why aren't we growing like other communities are? And I think that, you know, from now on, we need to be transparent about where those dollars are, who owes those dollars to the city. We have a accountant who works in our finance department that all they do all day is half-cent sales tax. So they
Specific focus is PEDCO and this fund.
Yeah, they reconciled the whole fund, so that's where all of those figures came from last night. We're going to start doing on-site audits to make sure that the employees, Councilor Maestri mentioned the PBR, and how they were submitting documentation to us previously that she felt those employees were not working within our community. So we're going to start these on-site audit visits to make sure that, hey, if we incentivized you, we want to make sure that the 40 employees that you have are actually working in your brick and mortar.
Yeah, working in Pueblo.
That's important because that's the reason why we incentivize them, right? Is so those individuals would stay in our community and they would spend their paychecks in our community. Right. So there's a lot of things that haven't been done in the past, but we're working to correct those moving forward.
Okay. A couple other questions that were asked last night. So timing-wise, technically, this ballot measure or this criteria ordinance is good through 2026. So I guess what happens if it passes this fall, or what happens if it fails this fall?
So it's good through 2027. So
okay. 2027.
So PEDCO likes to run the ballot a year before to make sure that it's going to pass.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, you know, they revamp, change their campaign to make sure on the last year that they can pass it, it works. And so I think that that's smart.
It's kind of like a buffer.
Yeah. I think that the city changing the criteria ordinance is going to have more people being supportive because we're actually going to see tangible infrastructure being done within our community. Okay. Something that we can say, hey, your half-cent sales tax dollars paid for this street light, you know, so these 5 businesses can come into our community and you can enjoy. So I think that this is going to be a positive thing for the ballot measure to pass. They're going to run it in November. So city's going to support it. I think city council's going to support it. PEDCO's going to support it. So if this criteria ordinance passes on the 23rd, it'll go into effect the second I sign it. So that week we will be able to start advertising that we have different ways to incentivize businesses who want to come to Pueblo, and I think that's going to be huge.
So we don't have to wait for the ballot measure to pass for the criteria ordinance to expand this opportunity.
Correct.
So essentially, this is something that could have, I mean, not really immediate, but almost immediate impact.
You know, we have a economic development person that is working in my office right now, and we're already making the phone calls in anticipation of this passing for companies or prospects that maybe were looking at Pueblo, but because they didn't fit within the already criteria ordinance or the primary jobs, that maybe they're looking elsewhere. So we're currently following up and making sure that people know that we have a different alternative now. And you know, come give Pueblo a second look. So it's something that we're working on. It's something that we're laser focused on, as you hear council say all the time, is economic development from now on.
So essentially, this is you know, taking that sense of urgency for our deficit that the city's facing and saying, hey, we're not going to sit here and just
twiddle our thumbs,
wait for sales tax to increase. Here's an immediate impact or an immediate way that we can.
To add to that, when you see these large-scale businesses that PEDCO tries to bring in, it could take years.
Right.
You know, this big project that they're working on right now, it might not even get done until 2027. So sales tax, in general, is not going to have an immediate impact. if we get these businesses open on the boulevard that I've been harping about for like 6 months, you're going to see an immediate impact when those businesses open.
Well, because, I'm going to go spend my money at Starbucks and McDonald's and Les Schwab.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, all those places.
Chipotle.
Yeah.
And the car wash.
Yeah.
You're going to get a car wash while you're there too?
Probably.
Okay.
While I'm drinking my Starbucks. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, thanks for outlining that timeline, because I think it's important for folks to understand the difference between the criteria ordinance and then the difference between the ballot measure and what that looks like. So then, as far as next steps, when will we see this ordinance come before council?
It'll be final reading on Monday.
On the 23rd?
Yep.
Okay, great. So then we'll have an update next week.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about related to half-cent sales tax or anything there?
I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Okay, great. Mayor, I know you wanted to talk about fireworks and this time of year with folks being safe and...
Yeah, so continue to preach, quit lighting fireworks off. It's not the 4th.
Well,
Today is the 17th of June.
Yep.
And Lucy and all the other dogs in the community, they don't like the fireworks and the big bangs. So, please take that into consideration. I know fireworks are fun and
of course,
exciting, and your kids love them, but
we all love them on the 4th of July. I think that's one thing that is most kind of obnoxious about this right now is nobody really likes them at 10:30 at night or 3 a.m. or 7:30 p.m. And 1 or 2 big bangs versus, 17 of them or 25 of them on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the whole night sky light up on the 4th of July than just one big bang in the middle of the night type of thing.
Like a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, and the other part too is we do have free fireworks, free opportunities on the 4th of July for folks to go enjoy.
The Riverwalk.
Yeah.
CSU Pueblo.
Yeah. So if you don't want to light illegal fireworks, which would be great, you could just go watch fireworks for free at either one of those places. But protect the dogs, protect the veterans, all those neighbors and our friends here in Pueblo instead of lighting off the fireworks.
Yeah. What events do we have this weekend? On the road?
We have On the Road.
That's Saturday.
It's Friday, Saturday,
Sunday.
Yeah, so lots of historic places, tours all over. I know Pueblo Transit is helping with some transportation for a Bessemer route and then a North Side route. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really exciting. I think we have close to 150 folks from all over the state coming for that, so that'll be fun. Also we have movies in the park Saturday night as well. I know El Centro is packed every day with free events and programming for the kids for summer programming. It's really hot, so they've got stuff inside. They got slime. They got basketball games, all kinds of different things to stay out of the heat and have some fun. So
Clean Eats has their grand opening ribbon cutting Saturday, so
that'll be
it's
great.
a new small business that's open downtown. Mm-hmm. Doing a ribbon cutting there.
Yeah. Pueblo's Got Talent on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's here.
They're at Memorial Hall. Yep.
Free.
Yes.
Free event for the community.
Yes.
Check that out.
And then that Habitat for Humanity cleanup.
We have a trash cleanup, Habitat for Humanity. It's going to be on Summit in Egan, in Bessemer, and it's 8:30 to 12 on Saturday morning. So if you want to come out and clean up, city is donating all the dumpsters for this project. So it's a great way to give back to your community in an area that we know is much needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's lots going on this week. And also a reminder that the city will be closed on Thursday for Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. I know there's a big Juneteenth celebration on Saturday, but we'll observe it on Thursday on actual Juneteenth. But I think that...
And it's going to be hot, so stay cool.
It's
going to be very hot this weekend, so keep your pets inside.
Stay hydrated. All those good things.
Shelter will be open for daily drop-ins, for
emergency sheltering
for individuals.
relief from the heat.
Yep. So lots of good things going on.
Great. Okay, don't forget, you can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube. You can find it on Local Channel 17, and you can email us your questions or your topic suggestions, mayor@pueblo.us. We'll see you next week.